Hi guys, I hope you're doing well so far this semester. I know this is a different time for all of us, um, but I think that there are some things that we really can learn from doing journalism, even for this class in this time. So um, hang in there. We're going to get through this. The big topic we're talking about right now, of course, and we have for the past couple of weeks, is the package project. Before we get to that, I want to remind you we do have those two assignments to watch the governor's daily press briefing and then record a minute extemporaneous report on it. Remember, so if you go back a couple of weeks, you'll see the details on that. Don't forget that, because I think that's a valuable lesson too. Learning to cover an event and then really quickly um, spit it back out on camera conversationally. Not scripted, but conversationally. That's a huge skill in broadcasting. It'll get you far. So let's talk about the package again. We've already talked about the fact that when we're shooting a package, we are telling a story, right? The people in our package are the characters in our story. So when we're shooting video of them, not only are we recording an interview, but we also want to get video of them doing something, even if it's just playing on their phone. Get some shots of them doing something so that when you're editing your package together, you're able to show them in addition to the interviews. One point, again, on shooting those interviews, we've already talked about the fact that you want to record them basically with a similar format to where I am in this image here, right? So you're looking at chest pocket up, not a whole lot of headroom. You tend to want to have folks just, a little bit off of center and looking across the screen, right? So you don't want this, right? You want somebody looking across the screen. If you haven't shot your interviews yet, bear that in mind. It occurs to me, as I'm recording this, that we should also talk about background. So you notice I'm just recording this from my office, but I've made sure that I've got something behind me. So I've got a college diploma over here, a clock, little key hanger over here, and a bookshelf over here. That's what you, oh, and my dog. Here he is. Hey, hi. Anyway, so what you're wanting to do is not have somebody just in front of a blank wall. And we've talked about this a little before in class, that you want to have something behind people. If you're just in front of a blank wall, it tends to look pretty dull, almost like a hostage video. So when you're doing those interviews, make sure to have something of interest behind the person, where they're not just stood up against a wall. Anyway, we've talked about the process of writing the package. We talked about that last week, picking out some sound bites, writing to those sound bites, and writing to the video you have. Remember, you don't want to be talking about something that you don't have any video to cover it up with, okay? That's all the stuff we've talked about so far. Today we're going to talk about assembling the package. So at this point, we would have gotten our video, we would have gotten our interviews, we would have picked out those sound bites, and we would have written the rest of the text, the script of the package. Now it comes time to record that package, record your voiceover for the package. Most of you don't have cameras with microphones with you at home, based on our conversations, but most of you do have smartphones. What I would recommend doing, and again, we're sort of improvising here these days, I would recommend using the voice record feature on your smartphone, where you can make little voice memos. It'll make little MP3 files that you can then send. So let's think about how we want to do that. When it comes time for you to record the voiceover for your package, certainly if you have access to an audio booth, a couple of you are on campus, you may be able to do that. But if you can't, again, I think the thing to do is use the smartphone, use the voice record feature, and just to prepare yourself for that, make sure you've got the text that you're going to read somewhere where you can read it, whether it's on your computer written out. And then think about ways, since you don't have a microphone probably, think about ways that you can minimize the echo around you. So my office is a lot of hard surfaces. Let's think about how audio works for just a minute. And if you've taken radio production classes, you know these things. Hard surfaces tend to create a lot of echo. Sharp corners, flat walls, hardwood floors. These things create what we would call a wet environment for audio, where there's a lot of echo. That doesn't sound great on voice recordings that you're doing for a package. It may make you sound hollow. There are a few things you can do to help that when it comes time to record the voiceovers for your packages. One is just to make sure that you're reasonably close to the phone. You know, keep it maybe 6 inches to a foot away from your face. You don't want it here because then it's going to pick up all of the mouth noise from your mouth. But you don't want it too far away because then it's going to, you're going to sound far away. So make sure that that phone or recording device is reasonably close to your face. Then, you know, if you can find a room where there is material around you, soft material, carpet is helpful because carpet damps down the sound. What I've done in this room is I think I can show it to you. I have a large fluffy comforter on the floor. And believe it or not, just having that comforter on the floor soaks up a lot of that sound so it doesn't echo quite so much in here. One thing you could consider doing, I've done some voiceover work in the past, and I would make a little tent for myself out of, you know, like a thick blanket, and then record underneath of that, because then that soaks up a lot of that sound too, and it doesn't sound so hollow. You could even go and record your voice in a clothing closet, you know, where you've got some shirts and pants hanging around you. Close the door, record, and that will soak up some of that sound too so it doesn't echo quite so much. The bottom line is, again, keep your recording device reasonably close to your face. Not too close, not too far, reasonably close, and have an environment where there's soft stuff around you that can soak up some of that sound. That's going to make you sound a little better. So now let's talk about how to assemble your package once you've recorded that voiceover. Once you've got your sound bites picked out, once you have your voiceover written, now it comes time to edit the package together. And I'm going to just give you a little demonstration of how to do this in Premiere. Some of you are editing on your phones, and to a degree, some of these same principles may apply. But remember, we do have student access to Premiere Pro until the end of May. So if you'd like to use this, you certainly should be able to get it. Before we begin, you'll want to make sure that you've imported all of your clips into the editing software, as well as your voiceover recording. And you see mine down here. This is one that I recorded on my smartphone and then emailed to myself, put on my desktop, and then uploaded. One of the things you're going to want to do is to make sure that we have all of these videos audio in 2 channels. Okay? We do that by selecting all of them, pressing the Control key and clicking, and that pulls up this little menu here. So let's do that again. All of them are selected. I'm going to hit Control and click, Modify, Audio Channels. You're going to want to make sure that mono is selected. Mono. Okay? Just a little thing. That's going to help us as we go down the road. So, as I suggested last week, I have picked out 3 sound bites that fit in my package. I've written to those. And again, this is just a sample. This is some video I shot as part of a documentary on a local painter by the name of Robert Root. So I'm going to pick out my first voiceover.
For years, Ed Bodecker has been collecting paintings. It's a passion that began when his mother brought a painting home in the early 50s.
Okay, I've selected that. Now I've got to tell the software where I want to start the package. And I like to start the voiceover maybe a second or two from the very beginning of the sequence. And I'll show you why in a minute. So I've told the software that I want to start my voiceover here. And I'm going to want the voiceover to be on audio track 1. See, we've got 1, 2, 3 audio tracks here, 3 video tracks. We want to deselect all of those tracks except for audio track 1. Come back up here to the area we've selected and press the override key. Now that's going to move that voiceover down here. I'm going to want to bring then my first sound bite up close. And leave yourself some space as you're putting those sound bites, because it's easier to move the sound bite to the left to meet up and butt against the voiceover than to do the opposite. And a lot of times it's easier to make kind of a little skeleton first of all of your sound bites and VOs. So I'm going to do that. So I've got my first voiceover, my first sound bite, pick out my second voiceover.
The piece had been produced by Shelbyville artist Robert Root. For decades, Root painted portraits and landscapes around central Illinois.
There's my second voiceover. And I'm going to make sure I bring this right up against, well, I'll bring it down here and then pull it over. Maybe. Here we go. There we are. Pull it over. Let's go grab my second sound bite. We'll bring it over as well. Hook it up there. Let's cut a third voiceover.
But though he could have traveled far, Root chose to work in his hometown.
Now, let's just talk a little bit about editing your voiceovers and sound bites. A lot of this is about balance. So you don't want to have big, long gaps ahead of your voiceover to where you've got like 2 seconds of silence like that.
But though he could have traveled far,
you don't want that, but you also don't want it cut so tightly that you're cutting off words. So just the lightest little bit of space at the beginning and at the very end, sort of like that. Bring it down. And you see what we're doing here is we're just kind of creating a little skeleton. This is really useful, first of all, if you are working on breaking news and you're producing a package for a newscast. Your producer is going to want to know how long that package is going to be fairly early on so that she can plan for it. So if you get a rough skeleton like this created, then you can tell your producer, hey, listen, my runtime is 1 minute and 3 seconds. Okay? That's a useful thing to know. So now we've picked out our sound bites. We've connected them with this connecting tissue of our voiceover. Now, we are not going to want to affect anything that's on this little line here of voiceovers. And you see the sound bites also, the audio is only on audio channel 1. We're not going to want to affect that anymore. We're going to want to make sure that all stays in place. So deselect audio channel 1, select audio channel 2, and select video. We're selecting video because now what we've got to do is cover up all of our talking here. See, that's voiceover, but there's no video with it. So what we're going to do is fill in the space. And the thing, again, you're looking at maybe 3 to 4 seconds per video clip. You don't want to be on a clip much longer than that unless something interesting is happening. Right? So if you've got a shot of somebody skiing down a mountain and they're skiing around trees or something, some Olympic athlete, it's fine to see that for 10 seconds because there's something new happening. But generally speaking, you're going to want to keep those clips fairly short. You're also leaving audio channel 2 on here because these aren't going to be silent films. If there is activity, if somebody is doing something, we want to be able to hear it a little bit underneath the sound of our voiceover. So now let's talk about picking out video to go with our audio. My text here, because it's hard for you to hear, of my voiceover is For years, Ed Bodecker has been collecting paintings. So my first sentence is about this guy, Ed Bodecker. He's this fella, okay? So if I'm saying something about Ed, I want to see him. The mantra we have for that is say it, see it. This is why I told you last week and the week before, the characters in your package, you need to make sure you have video of them doing something. So, for example, I've got some video here of Ed walking me through the Shelby County Historical Society Museum. Here he is taking me up to an attic room. You know, that's okay, but you really can't see his face. This may be better, okay? Here he's showing me a painting from his collection. So what we could do is something like this.
1929, and
so I've given an in point, no out point, and I've told the computer I want to fill this space here, basically covering up the first sentence. And that didn't take to audio 2, so I'm going to do this. Select that there. Let's try again.
and
For years, Ed Bodecker
picture
has been
below is
collecting
believed to be.
Okay, so what I've done here is started off with what we would call a nat sound pop. Okay, so you're going to hear a little bit of Ed talking at the very beginning.
1929.
He says 1929, looking at this painting. But then, and again, a lot of what's going on in Premiere you're not going to be able to hear very well. So I'm just going to sort of adjust this here for us. We want to be able to hear him up here, but we don't want his voice very loud underneath of our voiceover. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to go over here, selecting audio channel 2 and video channel 1, and I'm going to put a little cut right there. Okay? So what I can then do is I can bring down the audio here while my voiceover is going. So you'll still hear him talking.
1929. For years, Ed Bodecker has been collecting paintings.
See what we've got there? And I know that what's happening on Premiere is a little hard to hear through my computer recorder. But what I've done there is had a little bit of natural sound, him and his environment. And then I've reduced the sound of that as we go. So we've picked our first video. Now I'm going to pick something to cover up the second sentence. And in the second sentence I say, it's a passion that began when his mother brought a painting brought a painting home in the early 50s. So again, I'm going to pick the area that I want to cover up. Selected the in and out point. Audio channel 1 here is deselected. And then, because I'm talking about paintings, I need to show a painting. Here's one. This is a bit of a wider shot than I like. These shots are a bit tighter. Maybe I like that a little better. So we'll just put that down there.
For years, Ed Bodecker has been collecting paintings. It's a passion that began when his mother brought a painting home in the early 50s.
I grew up with that painting in the house.
So do you see what we've got there? There's no black space between the video. We've got this basic skeleton of our soundbite video, our soundbite audio, and our voiceovers, and then we're just sort of filling in the gaps by adding in video. If you've got a lot of natural sound, creating space where you can hear that. We'll just do a couple more to show you what we're doing. We're creating an in point and out point. We're making sure video 1, audio 2 are selected, but that audio 1 is deselected. And the text here is, the piece had been painted by Shelbyville artist Robert Root. We've got an image of Mr. Root there, and an image here. We'll use this. Oh, I see. So the problem is I have both an in point and an out point up here, which I should not have. So let's get rid of that. You know what? Let's just start over. Let's try this. Create this, put the out point there, toggle it down, and we will ignore source out point, okay?
Had been produced by
Whoa, so it blew that image way up. I'm not entirely sure why. So what we're gonna have to do is drag our way over to a corner and shrink it down. See what we're doing here, because for some reason that image was dramatically like magnified. Okay, that's close enough. So here, again,
Was that one painting.
The piece had been produced by Shelbyville artist Robert Root.
so we're saying the piece had been produced by Shelbyville artist Robert Root. We see a picture of Root here. Then it says, for decades, Root painted portraits and landscapes around central Illinois, so we need to see, we could do, for example, here a portrait from Robert Root. Or perhaps this image here. Let's just do this. I like that. That's nice. And we will go to the end of the clip here. So we've, again, created an in and out point. We've told the computer where we want our video to go. We're going to send it down there. Boom. Now there's a little natural sound underneath it there, you see, because we're in the space.
Have some kind of a water feature in them. So he was.
So I'm not going to do the whole package. I don't want to bore you with that. But this is what we're doing: creating a skeleton of what we would call A-roll, your voiceover, the sound bites. Then we're covering up your voiceover with those, with what we would call B-roll, with video and natural sound. And the key is going to be, when you want to lay down your voiceovers, select audio channel 1. When you're putting down your sound bites, select video channel 1 and audio channel 1. And then finally, when you are going to put down your B-roll, deselect audio channel 1, video channel 1, video channel 2. And that's how you're going to create this package. So feel free to email me if you need some help, if you need me to talk you through this. We can do that, okay? The last thing I want to talk to you about is audio. The key here is that we are going to want all of our audio to sort of peak just into the yellow.
For years, Ed Bodecker has been collecting.
And so what you do is you select audio up here, and that's going to open this little palette. We aren't going to want anything super loud in the natural sound underneath of a voiceover, so I'm going to bring that down here. But you're looking to just peek into the yellow for the things you want people to hear, the sound bites. When you start seeing orange, or certainly red, that's when you need to bring the audio down a little bit. So these sound bites of mine here are just a little on the loud side. You're going to want to just bring those down just a smidgen, because you don't want a distortion in the quality of the sound. So that's how you create a package. Once you've created the package, you can export it to YouTube as you normally would. So that's my basic introduction to producing a package. Again, email me if you need any help with this at all. I'm serious about that. In fact, I would like to hear from everybody this week about where you are on this package, where you are on this process, and how things are going. You can email me. You can write a discussion post, but for goodness sake, let me know, and let me know if you need any additional help. And we will talk soon. Bye.